Hi everyone, you're welcome to another interesting sewing tutorial. On today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you how to cut this stylish backless halter neck dress with Basque waistline, and it is also a bustier dress. At the end of this tutorial, you'll be able to make a basic torso foundation. You'll be able to alter it to a halter neckline and of course a Basque waistline. I will also be sharing with you how to change this basic Basque to a gathered basque dress, okay, just as you can see on the screen, and much more. Trust me, much more. You will not want to miss any part of this tutorial, so let's get right into the video. So to start this, I am going to draw a line. It's a starting point at the beginning of this paper. That's a horizontal line. So I had to draw it this way and then take my basic measurements at once. Now this is the shoulder measurement divided by 2 that I took there, and then I drew a vertical line. So after that, I took a basic neckline of 3 by 3. If your client is on the big side, please take 3.5 by 3.5. So after that, I dropped this by 1 and connected to the neckline, and this is the shoulder slope. Now the next thing to do is to go ahead and mark the half length for the front, which is also the waistline. Okay, so draw a horizontal line like this, and then I will go ahead and measure the bust measurement divided by 4. So anything your bust measurement is, if it is 40, you're going to measure 10. That is 40 divided by 4. Rule a vertical line just as you can see me do, and go ahead and mark your bust level. That is from the shoulder at neck to where the bust point is. That is what I just marked, and this is the hip line, and I'll go ahead and mark it. You know what we are making is a basic torso foundation. So now I had to label my points: bust, waist, and hip. So now the next thing to do is to mark 5 inches down and go in by 3/4. I'll use this and draw the armhole measurement divided by 2. So if your armhole is 16, you're going to measure 8 right here, because you know that this is a half pattern. Now I had just had to show you how to measure your armhole. Just measure around where the hand joins to the body and add 2 inches to it, just as I illustrated right now. Now the next is to measure your waist measurement divided by 4 plus that intake of 1/4. It is supposed to be 1 inch, but the under bust tightening usually adds 1/4 inch to the dart intake, so that is why we are using 1/4. Okay, so now I measured bust to bust and marked ½ inch on both sides. Here is bust to bust of 3.5. It's actually 7, and half of it is 3.5, and I had to draw my dart like that. Okay, now this is the under bust measurement. You can also take it from shoulder at neck to your under bust depending on how you took this measurement. So right now you're going to measure 3/4 this way and 1/4 this way, and then connect to the waistline and connect to the waist as well. You can see the 1/4 inch increase there at the dart intake at the waistline. So now connect this to the bust point just as you can see me do. I used my armhole curve rule to do this. Now after that, where I shaded will be going off at the end of this tutorial. Now I marked 1/1/4 and connected to the bust point. 1/1/4 is the difference between the front and the back half length. You have to note this. Now the next thing is just to go ahead and mark 6 inches down and bust to bust again, which is 3.5, and complete my dart. I had to do that and complete my dart. So now the next is to drop your neckline where you want it. I dropped by 4.5, and I measured the same from the starting line so that I'll get a straight line. That is all I did there, and this is what I have. I had to use my, rule and try to get a curve for this side of the armhole. So watch closely to see what I did. I had to draw something like this, and then I measured from here to the neckline, and it gave me 1.5 inches. So that is what I marked all through to get exactly the design that we have on the dress. So that is what I am doing. I had to complete the 1.5 inches to where the armhole ends and connected just like this. That is all I did here, and I completed the neckline. So this is the neckline I'm trying to achieve, and you can see that we are getting right what we want. So after that, I'll go ahead and draw a line to the neckline that we just drew, and I will take over bust tightening of 1/2 inch on both sides of this line. Now I had to connect this to the bust point, just as you can see right here. So that is all I did, and yes, I will continue with this. So the next is to draw a line from the armhole, the new armhole, to the bust point. Watch closely and you'll understand everything I'm doing. So I'll draw a line from this to the bust point, and I took 1/2 inch tightening there. So this is a contour guideline to ensure that that armhole side does not gape. Okay, so where I'm shading will be going off at the end of this tutorial. So where I'm shading will be going off, and you can see all the places I'm shading. Of course, all of those places will not be necessary at the end of this pattern drafting. So now the next is to go ahead and complete the lower part of this pattern. So I had to take a level, just as you can see, 4 inches down from the waistline, and I connected to form my basque, just as you can see. Now this is the hip measurement divided by 4, and I'm marking it at the hip level. Watch closely. I had to connect this to the waistline and take it down to the hem of the dress. So you can see what I have. I just had to take it down. So at this stage, you have to take the length of the dress that you want. Okay, so take the length and get that length from the waistline so that it will be shorter distance to measure and more accurate as well. So I drew a horizontal line there, and yes, this is what I have. If you want, you can mark that straight down. Just watch closely. You can take a straight line down if you do not want to get an A-like cut there, but I like the A cut. I actually like it. So go ahead, feel free to do what you want. So after this, I had to label it front, and I had to go ahead and draw my slash lines. Now these slash lines will help us to convert this particular part of the dress to a gathered dress. Okay, feel free to add more slash lines if you prefer. Feel free to make it smaller if that is what you want, depending on how much you want. When we get to that, I will throw more light on that. So here is a starting line, and I measured shoulder measurement divided by 2, and I drew my vertical line, just as you can see. I had to measure 3 inches by 1 inch for the back neckline, and I drew my back neckline. So here I dropped by 1 inch and connected like so. So you can see what I have. I dropped here by 5 inches, had to go in by 1/2 inch. So now what I'm measuring is bust measurement divided by 4. If your bust is 40, what you're measuring here is 10. 40 divided by 4 is 10. So you go ahead and measure your armhole. I illustrated how to measure your armhole at the beginning of this tutorial. Now connect these points to form your armhole. So after that is the back half length, which is also the waistline. Yes. So you go ahead and draw your back half length, and this is what we have. Now we will take the waist measurement, going by half, which is the back tightening down. Measure waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch, that intake, and connect this to the side, just as you can see right here. Now what I'm doing is to complete the length of the dress. Okay, to complete the basque, I had to go down by 4 inches and connect it. But if you don't want the basque, you can allow your back to run straight. So you can allow your back to run straight, but if it runs straight, you're not going to use the front back modification for gather for the back. You are going to draft this back complete so that you will use straight line on the waistline for changing it to the basque. So what I measured right now towards the neckline is 1.5 inches, just like what we have in the halter neck for the front. Okay, so that is what I have there. And on the neckline, I'm going to do the same as well. So I measured 1.5 inches, and I'm going to connect it all through for this neckline as well. Yes, because this is going to join the halter neck in front to form a complete neckline of the halter. So watch through the whole process and understand what I did to get my halter neckline. So after that, I'll go ahead and complete the back tightening just as you can see right here. I completed the back tightening, connected this downwards, and this is what I have at the end. So I had to write back, and where I'm shading will be going off. The neckline, I definitely needed to complete the halter neckline for this bustier dress with basque waistline, and of course gathers. So right here is the shoulder and this is the center back, and I'm also labeling all of the other parts so that I will not have any reason to mix it up. So after doing this, I had to go ahead and cut out the whole pattern. So this is the neckline and we'll be using it to complete the halter neckline for the front. So go ahead and cut out the rest of the pattern and we will continue with every other thing. So right now what I want to do is to draw the dart intake. So measure the middle of this point and come down by 6 inches. Ensure it is at the same middle, okay? Ensure it's the same middle. It rhymes with the middle of the dart. I hope this makes sense. So complete your dart and also take this part upwards. Ensure it's at the same middle here, okay? Ensure it's at the same middle here. So you're going to take this upwards and also take this one upwards. So there is 1/4 inch there to help with the back contour because the back does not have anything there, no yoke, no nothing. So you have to take in a little to take care of the back contour. So after that, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the front, just as you can see right here. So I had to cut out the front, cut out, just as you can see. And I'm going to go ahead and close up this contour for the armhole. So close it up. This will help your armhole not to gape or to slack. So I don't have my masking tape handy, so I used pin to pin it down. So this is what it will look like. I'll also close the side bust dart, just as you can see here. And I'll use my pin to pin it down. So this is what I have. Obviously, we have concluded the bustier and the basque part of this front pattern. We are not completely done with the halter neckline, and I'm going to show you how to take care of that. So this is what we have here. So for the shortening at the armhole side, I will complete it at the end. So this is how you're going to join this and tape it down. So you're going to join it like this and tape it down. So since I do not have my masking tape handy, I had to use pin to hold it down, just as you can see. So I had to cut out this, and this is exactly what we have in our pinned picture. This is very gorgeous, trust me. So when you're cutting, cut with 1/2 inch seam allowance all through, except for the side where you will add 1 inch, okay? So this is what I had at the end of this pattern drafting for the front, and this is what I have for the back. So watch closely to see what I am going to do for the back. So this is what is going to complete the other parts of the front. This part is going to connect, the halter neck strap in front is going to complete it at the back, okay? So this is how you're going to join yours together and cut it all in one on fabric. So this is the back. You can cut off this dart and cut it in 2 parts so that it will have a line at the back. If you like, you can also stitch the dart, but ensure that you stitch it accurately so that your pattern is not affected. So now this is the front. You're going to cut it with 1/2 inch seam allowance all through, apart from the side where you add 1 inch. So now you have seen what we have. You can just, add up paper. I'm just trying to blend this armhole part of this pattern. So you can add paper there and use your masking tape and hold it down and then cut it out. You can as well leave it and do this when you're cutting on fabric. As soon as you place the pattern on your fabric, you can blend it with your chalk and then before cutting it out. Note that these patterns are seamless patterns, meaning no seam allowance is added. So you're going to add seam allowance for joining when you are cutting. I have to stress this. Add your seam allowances when you are joining. This is what you're going to use and join these patterns together. Very, very important. So this is what I have. You can stitch down the dart for the back. You can cut it open, add your seam allowance there so that you can join the two parts together. So this is the complete pattern set for the upper. So I will not say that this is a half scale block. It is a torso foundation because it crossed the waistline. The basque made it to cross the waistline, and of course this part that we are taking care of now. Now what you're going to do here is to go ahead and cut these pattern pieces into pieces, just as you can see me do right here. Cut it into pieces, and then you can close up this dart. Okay, you can close up this dart and then cut out this so that you get exactly, so that it will not be unequal on that part. So go ahead and cut open your slash lines. As I said, you can increase your slash lines, you can increase your spread. But if the, space between your slash lines is like 2 inches, it's advisable that you also space it by 2 inches. Okay, but you can space it more than that. So that is if you want it fuller, but you can equally make it less if you want it very light, but it's always fine when it's that moderate. If you space your slash lines by 2 inches, just spread it by 2 inches or more. Okay, that will give you a very beautiful look. 2 inches or more if you space your starch lines by 2 inches. And after spreading it, this is what I have. You can see what the A cut gave. But if you don't like the A cut by the side, you can make your own straight. But I think this A cut by the side made it really beautiful. So this is how you're going to join your pattern and gather this part. Yes, note that these are seamless patterns. No seam was added. So when you are cutting, you will add seam to every part of this pattern. Yes, every part, waistline, side, hem, you're going to add seam allowance because this is a seamless pattern. So you can see this part, this halter neck part, this is what it looks like. You are also going to add seam allowance to that, armhole to halter neck parts. Very, very important. Very, very important because these patterns are made without seam. If you cut it like this, it's going to be less. You won't even have seam allowance to use and join your fabric together. It's definitely going to come out smaller, which you don't want. Please stress this, okay? Note this rather. So this is what it looks like at the back. So you're going to just stitch up your dart and gather up this. If you don't want Basque waistline at the back, go ahead and do what you prefer. Okay, so this is what I had at the end of the day, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give me a thumbs up, like, comment, share. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in my next one. I love you all. Bye.